Oh, man.
Oh, man. Had to take it old school. Man.
Yeah.
Had to take it old school back to the originals.
Man. Like it. Missed it.
Yeah, man.
You know, I missed doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but it was a nice break.
Yeah.
You know?
We needed, much needed.
Much
Weekend
needed.
off, man. We be putting a lot of work in.
Yep. Much needed break.
You already know. So
And
how
here-
we gonna do this? Fuckers forgot how to do this.
Right? Man, where do we begin?
Right.
Yeah. So much to tackle, to talk about.
Incredibly difficult. Well, let's what's been going on? Let's just personally, you know what I mean? Besides, we'll dive into all the other shit, but
Okay.
what's been going on? Couple weeks off. What's going on in the world
Well,
of Zeke?
back to work full time.
Right.
Did that. Started actually, the week we actually took off
Right.
doing the podcast. So started back full time. Interesting. I'll just say that. I mean,
Right.
I don't know how else to describe it, man, but it's interesting.
Right.
You know, with all the new rules and regulations and stuff in place, and people forgot how to do their jobs, you know, doing other people's jobs, people freaking out about certain things, and, you know, with the COVID and
Of course.
trying to make everybody safe and the employees safe and the guests safe. And, you know, it's just been it's been exhausting, actually.
I bet.
Yeah. And it's really just kind of, I don't know what the word to use, but kind of like babysitting in a sense of, you know, all these people freaking out. What do I do? What do I do? You know? And I'm like, and there's been there's been some kind of guideline, but not.
No real answers.
Yeah. You know, so just getting back in the groove of actually working full time again. You
Right.
know, I've been in and out of work, you know, ever since we went into quarantine.
Right.
But, you know, just a day here or a day there, just for a few hours, not really doing the full, you know, workload type of thing. And then, so yeah, man, it's just been, it's been interesting, you know, so
To say the least.
yeah. What about you?
Oh man, just you know, same old Grizzly, bro.
Yeah.
Just, you know, chipping away every day, bro. That's it, man. You know, I've had a little bit of relaxation time. You know what I'm saying, and going swimming and taking the kids swimming and shit.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, I kicked it with you, you know.
yeah. We went over to Mom Duke's house.
Yep.
Had some boigas, some dogs.
Yep.
She was fired too.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's so
That shit
good,
was fire.
dude. Because I remember we were talking, you know, before all this, and I was like, man,
Good
I just
homemade
want a
burgers.
good
Sounds
burger,
serious.
man. You know? And I don't want to dive into that, but, you know, I was like, we were just talking. I was like, man, a good burger sounds good. And a homemade burger is, to me personally, always the best,
Oh, for sure.
you know? So,
Yeah, and you know how we do it, man. We, you know,
oh,
stuff
you guys,
them and
yeah, you guys do it
it's
up.
it's
you know.
it's a whole thing.
It
That
was
we,
cool,
that
man.
we
Just
do.
relaxing and, you know,
Yeah, man.
felt good
It
getting
was
that
fucking-
pool
it was
and,
perfect too,
Yeah.
because the weather was crazy.
110,
Yeah,
whatever,
it was like
112.
112 or something.
Right.
Yeah,
Something crazy like that.
It was an R&B group out there, man. It was a whole R&B.
Your favorite R&B
it was,
group.
It was a whole R&B group out there.
Right. Shoot, man.
So, yeah, man.
Crazy.
So I guess we got to dive in.
Let's dive in, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't even know where to really begin, man. There's just like so much to unpack and our thoughts and
Yeah.
you know and everything like that. I guess I'll say this to kind of start out. I've been thinking about our podcast a lot lately, and there's one in particular, and I'm not trying to sell our podcast to anybody. It's not really. But just the conversations that we have are somewhat relevant, especially communication, which we can dive into a little bit later. But the one that is really sticking with me is change and growth. Mm-hmm. That one in particular. And the analogy that I used of the ship has really stuck in my head.
Okay.
And taking that old rickety ship and tearing it down and not to polish a turd, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But actually improve it and make it better. Mm-hmm. And so that's been on my mind a lot because change is tough.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable.
It's right.
But it is necessary.
Of course.
And so, for me personally, I was just thinking, man, we need this change.
Yeah.
Needed
it.
It's so long,
it's
man.
overdue and it's collecting interest, bro.
And gosh, the conversations that we've had, over the years of our friendship, I mean, we've talked and talked and talked about it
a lot.
Like, when is something going to happen? When is something going to change?
Right.
We need a change. And I feel personally like the time is now or almost never.
Yeah, I mean, if there isn't something, if there isn't something done, some type of drastic change in the system this time, I don't know when the next time is going to present itself.
Right.
Because you only, and especially when it comes to the topic and the reality of racism, it seems like this is like one of those, it's one of those things that we only get the spotlight on it, and a huge spotlight on it certain times in history, and where there's this big huge spotlight, for lack of a better word, and everybody's watching and everybody's paying attention, everybody has an opinion, and you only get that very, very seldom. And so if something's not done now on a systemic level, then I don't know when the next time is going to be.
Right. I mean, first and foremost, man, police brutality against the black community has got to stop. It's got to. We need that change. We need it now. There's no more time to be wasted. It's saddening. It's sickening. And not just now. It has always been. And, man, I don't even know. Things have to change, man. Like they have to. I just keep thinking in my head, man, we could tear this shit down. Really tear it down and rebuild it again.
That's the conversation that, you and I were talking about earlier, where that's where I was telling you, that's where it's good. Like, these are the things that are going to be difficult because there's basically, we're in a period right now of awakening and waiting, specifically when it comes to the George Floyd situation. I would implore people to go out there and, I've been saying this, do more research, but there's actually been more things that have happened during the protest. There was an incident here in Arizona, and I'll leave some links and some some information in the description when we put the video out. There was a thing that happened in Tacoma. Obviously, there was a big thing that happened. I think there was a big thing that happened in Buffalo. Another thing that happened in Florida. I mean, it's like we have to focus on the George Floyd situation. The Ahmaud Arbery situation is still there. The Breonna Taylor situation is still up in the air. So there's basically we're in this almost conflicting spot of, okay, now people are seeing things and starting to understand they're dipping their toe in the water.
Right.
They have not fully tested the temperature yet. But they're starting to try to test the temperature. And then there's also, for us as the Black community, and those that support the cause, the waiting period to see of what does justice look like in all of these situations, and for the spotlight, the George Floyd situation, right? And so there's going to be a lot of things that we can do in the waiting period to further the conversation, further the action. And then there's going to be a reaction after the wait, okay? After whatever type of justice is handed down.
Right.
And that essentially will spark another conversation, right? It'll further the conversation, but it's going the way we speak about it, the things that we're going to be talking about, depending on how it goes, and it's not just in the George Floyd trials, it's in all of them, right? Because we need to be looking at everyone individually, right? We can't take this one win and just be okay with that,
right? We cannot,
because if that happens, and we can be okay for that particular thing, but we have to then we have to focus our energy on the next one and win there. Get the biggest win we can get, and not settle for nothing, which is normally what happens. So once we get through that, there's going to be that conversation. That after that is when the reality is really going to set in, and then the energy has to be focused on, if we have not reached that this conclusion already, which we won't, how do we change the system? Okay. We got some asshole.
Yeah, he's been riding around.
Driving.
Yeah.
Thinks he's fucking motocross out here. Sit your ass down somewhere. It's like so much dirt out here.
Right,
you just fucking riding on the street, you asshole.
Dirt. Yep.
Anyways, after that, we need to figure out how we change the system.
Yes.
As far as how we hold people accountable when it comes to acts of violence and acts of racism, and if those two are together, how we attack that and how we hold people accountable, how we hold the police accountable.
Yes.
And specifically when it comes to racism, but then also with every other part of their job. Just like in any other job, there's a list of things that we must check across the board in order for us to keep our jobs. And we violate those things, we either get written up, depending on how big of the violation, and enough of those get you fired. If you violate one thing that they basically deem fireable on a first offense, that needs to be the same case when it comes to law enforcement.
Right.
It has to be that.
And then, as you were telling me earlier, didn't really think about the police union and how they, basically protect these guys. That needs to go away.
Right.
I think that's one of the first things that needs to actually go.
I agree.
And the protection of these guys that are doing these heinous crimes, and and it, man, swift justice too. Like, why are we waiting freaking days and days? And there's, it's sickening, man.
It is.
And it needs to happen fast. And when you told me that, and we're talking about that, I was thinking to myself, well, then that's a big part that needs to go away. That way we can swiftly get in there, and take care of the situation, fast.
But that's a part of the system, right?
Right.
And so like with any had that crime and had any of these crimes been committed by anybody else, right? Except for obviously the Ahmaud Arbery situation, where I don't know what the hell happened there. I mean, these guys were just basically, and had it not been brung to the public's attention, and then the video come out, these guys would still be kicking at home
Right.
and drinking beers right now, right? So, but had anybody else done any of these crimes, it's like you wouldn't even hesitate. You would have showed up like that night. It would have happened right there. Like,
Right.
yo, we red-handed, bro. Like you going to jail. You at least going to jail and getting booked, and then we gonna figure out what we gonna charge you with.
Right.
But your ass wouldn't have been able to go home
For days.
and kick it.
Yeah.
And like try to get your shit. Like, it doesn't work like that. So yeah, that's a part of the system that we need to change. Like, I don't care what you think the outcome may be and what you're trying to make the outcome, but you need to make sure that people are at least going through the same process as everybody else out here in these streets. Period. Book these motherfuckers. And then if you find like, yo, okay, this ain't it. But when you have that much evidence, that needs to happen. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Even in self-defense cases where you go home, or you're at home and something happens and you're a pedestrian, and you basically not pedestrian, excuse me, a civilian, and you defend your home, right?
Right.
They still booking your ass.
Right. Yeah.
They might set a bond or something like that based on the circumstances.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But they still booking you, and they're going to look into the facts.
Right.
So how, like,
Yeah. Why are they getting a free pass?
Yeah, who knows what they're doing? They might be moving their money around. They might be setting shit like,
Oh man.
all kind of shit.
All kinds of stuff. Can
You
be
know,
happening,
so
for sure.
that's where and again, these things are not going to happen overnight.
No,
They're
no.
not going to happen in 2 weeks. We'll be lucky if they happen within the next year, right? But everybody's got to keep their foot on the gas and
Yes.
demand, and we got to
Yeah.
keep that same, because this shit is going to die down.
Right.
The energy of the media, and even most people on social media who don't have to deal with this issue and see it as right now, this is the time to say something. But when all the smoke settles, right, and the fire starts to die down, when that happens, that's when we need to almost accelerate the fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? And make sure that we keep making sure that these issues are coming up locally, statewide, nationally, and I mean, even with the George Floyd situation, which has now become it's international.
Yeah.
You know,
18 countries have now joined in the protests.
That's crazy.
I was reading
that's
this morning.
incredible, man.
Also want to touch on reading stuff and be careful what you watch. There's been that. Now, I haven't done the research, but the Buffalo police with the old man that got pushed down,
Oh man,
and they said that they all quit. And then I read somewhere this morning that they didn't all quit. They just said they weren't going to do certain parts of their job. And I was like, wait, what? So I need to do my so everybody, like, please. And I know you preach this all the time. We preach it on this podcast constantly.
Yeah.
You know, do your research.
Yeah.
You know, give it a day to maybe breathe too. You know, get another. I mean, especially when you're talking about like what's happening in these protests and stuff like that. There's multiple angles of what is happening. I'm sure there's other stuff where you can find as far as what's going on. All I'm saying is do your research before you jump, you know, on board on something that's can be detrimental.
And here's the funny thing, like, remember in school when we used to have to do papers?
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And what did you have to do?
Yeah, the references.
You had to have at least
like I think it was 5.
At least 5 when you start like in your younger years.
Yeah.
And then after that it was at least like 10.
Right. Where did you get your information from?
So,
it wasn't one source.
So the whole point was for you to do your that was the point of that. Right? Was to make sure that you did your due diligence in making sure that you were able to get all the information that was available to you, decipher through that, and then make a report on that, right?
Right.
Because if I read one book and it tells me this thing and I solely go off of that, well, there might be another book that has more information, maybe different information, right? So especially when it comes to social issues, racism in particular, because that's what we're talking about here, but throughout and in the future, any type of social issues that we have, it is more important for us to do our research and make sure that we try to capture as much information before, one, we say anything about it.
Right.
Okay. Because you can't watch a show that has doctors in it and then all of a sudden become a doctor.
Right.
So right.
Yes.
So if you see one thing, you're not a fucking expert on it.
Right.
Right. And even if you see 5 things, maybe you're not an expert. But the more educated you get about something, the more you can actually offer to that cause, right? And actually form an educated opinion. And if it's not something that you're rocking with, fine. Now, in this particular situation, there is no if it's not something that you're on one side or the other. And there is no middle ground. There is no maybe kind of right on this side and maybe no.
Yeah.
You only right if you on this side. Period.
Yes.
Okay. So, but yeah, you gotta do your research, man.
Gotta do your research.
I mean, I could post some bullshit. Anybody could post anything, and then somebody else sees it and like, oh, that's the gospel. I'm posting it up.
Right.
And now you haven't done your research. I haven't done my research. Now you've got information from somebody else who hasn't done their it's a fucking trickle down effect, domino effect. So yeah, definitely, for sure.
And also want to say, as a white man,
why did you like couldn't get that out? Huh? You're like, like we can see you, right? He's
wait, you can't?
I don't know if you guys do, but I'm a white man. Surprise.
You can't.
Right. Peekaboo. Oh shit.
But the thing really bothers me the most is the word understand.
Okay.
Has really been bothering me. You have to understand. Let me just tell you right now, you will, as a white person, you will never understand.
Straight up.
And I've witnessed things with you being in stores, being followed, the way people talk to you.
I remember, yeah.
But I still don't understand, like, in the sense of, but I sympathize and I go, and I know this shit happens, right? But you will never understand. I will never understand.
And I want to touch on that real quick, bro, because
what you go through on a day-to-day basis,
right? I
will never understand,
right?
And I just serious. I really want to make that clear to whoever's watching this, who's not a black male or female.
Right.
You will not understand.
You'll never have any idea
of what they go through.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say in particular, like I remember when, you know, I think it was like the first podcast we recorded or second or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we when a little Total Wine, you know, pick up a little splash.
Right.
And we get in there and I don't know if I think I had said anything to you. I think you saw it and was like, yo, this dude is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And but what was funny is I saw him at the door. Right. I told you, I said, I made eye contact with him and I was like, oh, this motherfucker, here he come. Like in my head, I was like, here he come. And I remember you were so furious.
I think I told you out as we walked out the door. I was like,
we talked about it for another like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because you were so furious. And I'm over there like, motherfucker, it's Tuesday.
That's what, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just another, like, I'm not even, am I bothered by it? Of course. Mm. You know what I mean? But so what we going there? So we grabbed this little 60-something, 70, put a little money on the board. Oh, you want to follow me? Cool. Are you a member here, sir? Yes, I am. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny that your reaction was from seeing that and witnessing it was anger. You know what I'm saying? And my reaction was like,
yeah, it happens.
It's Saturday, bro.
Yeah, and it happens. And then but that's why I said if you're not a black man or woman, you don't understand. So when you witness something like that and you see it firsthand, it's angering. It's, you know, and you know what happened.
Right.
You know, and anyways, so be careful with language too. I would say to certain people, like what was that thing that you you posted up? I really liked that where you flipped about the riots and then the
yeah. White privilege is saying, you know, it's bad. I think I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but it's terrible what happened to George Floyd, but the looting and riots have to stop. Mm-hmm. Where the real conversation should be, it's the riots and the looting is terrible, but killing unarmed black men needs to stop.
Thank you. Yes. And so it's the language. And that's why I say be careful what you say, what the language is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, people for everybody that's not directly affected by this on an everyday basis. Like for a lot of people who are coming into this and really finally opening their eyes and starting to pay attention, and even for those who have known for a long time and have said things, but because we're at such an elevated state right now, you really have to understand that there's so much more you need to know, right?
Right.
And so I think you just have to make sure that you are careful about the way you think about things and perceive things, and the way that you digest information as it comes, especially now, because there's going to, as people are having their eyes opened, they are starting to do more research, and you will find you're gonna turn up a bed and it's gonna be a lot of nasty shit up under there.
Right.
And you know what most people are gonna do? They're gonna put the bed back down and they're gonna walk away, and maybe they come back and peek under again. Right? For us, we ain't never have the top mattress. The nasty shit been there the whole time, and we've had to lay in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And as much as we try to clean it, we do everything to clean it. For some reason, when we get back home, that motherfucker's dirty again. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be overwhelming. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you're going to get mad. If you care, it is going to piss you off.
Right.
But to your point, you need to be careful how you digest that. And if that means you have to take a step away for 30 minutes, an hour, like we do, we have to mentally do this every day and then come back to it with a clearer mind, then you need to do that. And then as you start to get out there and say things, and more importantly, do things, you need to really be cautious of how you do things and make sure that whatever you're doing is in alignment with the people that you're doing it for and the cause that you're doing it for.
Right.
And if you don't make sure of those two things, you could essentially unknowingly be on the other side of that, even though you had no idea. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like there's so much that, like, for people, and even for me as a black man, I have to call you. You know, I just talked to my boy Ramon and my boy V Sweet yesterday. I have to talk to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had to talk to two other black men to, like, yo, where are we at with this? I had to talk to you, like, where are we at with this? What are we gonna do with the platform that we have?
Right.
And just in our friendship, and how are we gonna spread that out to the people outside of us? How and you've come to me, what can I do? What am I gonna do? But we have to go to other people to get more it's continuing that cycle of educating yourself so that you can eventually become a vessel for the cause.
Right. And then on top of that, I want to add, that's the communication part.
Of course.
You know, and it's so important to communicate with one another, you know, and find out what is going on. I mean, for me personally, one of, you know, what I'm doing and what I'm seeing is conversational pieces that I'm having with people that I never thought I would have a conversation with like that with. And I personally don't mind. Like I'm okay with having that uncomfortable conversation with somebody because I don't have all the answers, but I can at least steer you in a direction and, you know, give you some sort of information that I have, you know, and I feel like that is a small part, or, you know, a part of me that can contribute to this cause is to steer certain people when they ask questions. Please ask me the question. I'll be happy to, if I know the answer or I have the answer, I'm willing to go down that road with you.
Right.
And so that goes up with that communication part. You know, so important to have that communication with other people that are open to it, who are now having their eyes open to what's going on. They're like, you know, I've gotten a lot, man, like at work. It's been interesting. Probably the best word I can use for it, you know? And I, you know, I talk about us on a continual basis. I always be like, yeah, Dre, and, you know, we did podcasts, we talked, you know, oh, cool. Oh, hey, what does Dre think about the situation? What's going on in the situation? You know, and I never say you're a black guy.
Right.
But I mean, Dre kind of implies that you're a black man.
Right.
So they pick up on it. But I mean, it's the conversation, I'm willing to have that conversation. And that is my part that is one part that I know that I can do to help steer this conversation in the right direction.
I don't want anybody to minimize how important that is, right? Because everything starts with what's immediately around us. Like, that's the other thing, is people want to go, okay, now I'm ready. Oh, I'm ready. I want to go big. No. Because what you've done is now you've literally passed up everything around you. So you can go big, but then when you come back down here, what's happening? Are you avoiding those situations? Are you having those conversations? Are you saying something when you see something, hear something? That's where you need to make a conscious effort to make sure that you are checking that shit at the door and checking it in a way that hopefully educates instead of steers somebody away, right? Mm-hmm. But there's only so much conversation you can do, right? That somebody's basically telling you, I just don't give a fuck. And at that point, you have to make another conscious and difficult decision, mm-hmm. depending on who it is that you're having these conversations with, as to, okay, now you and we need to sever ties,
right?
And I can't surround myself with people that have that particular belief or have that much ignorance that they just don't care.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's only so far.
But you got to be willing to be willing to be uncomfortable. You got to be willing to lose.
Yes.
Lose, because like we done lost so much. We done lost so much. So who do you think you are that you can't lose somebody? And it's like I was talking about, man. You got to be willing to stand for what's right instead of holding on to what's wrong.
Right.
And you have to be willing to do that.
Yep. Stand firm, and you will. I mean, you will either lose connections with people, acquaintances, friends, good friends, best friends, family members. A situation like this will bring out, that dark side of people's thoughts and stuff like that. And like you said, man, you can, if they're willing to have that conversation and communicate with you openly about it, and hopefully they are willing, if they're truly your friends anyways, they're going to want to listen to you.
Right.
They should anyways.
Right.
If not, bye. Sayonara. See you later. I mean, like,
have a great
day. There's plenty more people that you could be friends with.
Right.
And I know it sucks. I'm not saying that lightly.
Hey, bro, really, if all 10 of your friends is like that, then there's a lot of reflection that you need to do on yourself.
Correct. Absolutely.
Like if you lose one out of the 10 or out of the 20, but if every one of them is like that, you need to do a lot of reflection on yourself.
You got some soul searching to do.
You know what I'm saying?
Some serious soul searching.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. No doubt.
It's like all my boyfriends are terrible. All my ex-boyfriends are terrible. Maybe you need to go look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying?
That's good though too, man. Like those people pointing fingers and stuff.
Right.
There's that age-old saying, man. People who point fingers should really point them back at themselves, because you really need to do some self-reflecting to figure out what the hell's going on.
Big time.
And like you said, what side of the fence are you really standing on? Mm-hmm.
You have, and that's the other thing too. You have to take a stance.
Yeah.
And if you don't, okay, don't.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't. I don't want to. I don't want to hear. You don't want to hear nothing.
Right. Yep.
I don't want to hear nothing from you.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Don't sit here have an opinion when you haven't taken it. Well, I just don't know. I mean, I just don't. No.
Mm-hmm.
The picture's clear. It was like I was telling you earlier. It's like, it's only so much doing of, this is a phone. Mm. Well, I mean, is it a phone? This is a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has a microphone in it. So is it a microphone? Yeah. It has a camera on it. So, okay. But this is a phone. There's only so much. This is not good. This is what we've been dealing with. This is racism. This is... of me shoving in your face and you still being like, the picture's distorted even though it's clear. There's only so much of that and it can't go on anymore.
Right.
You can't sit there and look something dead in the face and then tell me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tell me that's not what it is. Mm-hmm. It's because you're not willing to try to understand. You're not willing to be uncomfortable in that spot and acknowledge it. Because once you acknowledge it, then now it's real for you as well.
Right.
And that's a hard thing for people to do. Yeah. People don't want to live in that uncomfortable space. And that's fine. If you don't, be quiet, stay at home. You know what I'm saying? Go do your grocery shopping, go to work, and don't have an opinion on this.
Right. And
Period.
I'll jump back to that change. The change. Change is uncomfortable.
It is.
You're gonna have to have conversations that are uncomfortable.
Especially if the change doesn't, if it hasn't affected you in the past.
Mm-hmm.
If it hasn't been something that directly has affected you in the past, or even in the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're changing to change something outside of your own life and your own daily things that you go through, that's a hard, because humans are selfish in general, and it's like, well, if it doesn't affect me, so why should I change for it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's where people may get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they got to look at themselves and really digest and dissect what have they done in their lives. Maybe they're like, damn, I did say something back in 93, and that's, oh man, I said something 2 weeks ago. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
But uncomfortable moves you.
Right.
That's what the uncomfortable, it should move you.
Right.
It should move you.
That's fun. It's almost like you can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go to sleep if you're uncomfortable, right? What do you do when you're uncomfortable? You try
to find the spot so you're comfortable.
Right.
You try to find that spot.
Right.
And that's
Facts.
That's that self-reflecting part of that.
Right.
Uncomfortable until
Facts.
it's comfortable. You know, you're comfortable
Huge
saying
facts.
it. You're comfortable, living that way.
Yeah. Big time.
I also want to bring up real quick too is I think we should.
I'm just looking up some stuff.
Oh.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just.
okay.
Yeah. I'm just. Go ahead. I'm listening.
No. I just want to touch on this briefly, man. Is the All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Of course, all lives matter, but if you don't understand that Black Lives Matter, get the fuck out the way. I don't know how else to say. Get the hell out the way, man. Like, you're missing missing the mark. You're missing the point.
Yes.
It's not the point. Yes. Of course all life matters, you freaking idiots.
Right. We just saying ours hasn't. On a wide scale, our lives have not mattered.
I don't know how else to say it, man.
But again, that is people changing the narrative so that they can be comfortable.
Yeah. Again, be
and then that's the white privilege,
right?
And not just it's the privilege that a lot of people have in this country. If you are not black.
Right.
I don't even know how else to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm down. You know me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down with everybody, dog.
Right.
You down with everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what they say about Zeke? Zeke invited to the barbecue. You know what I'm saying? If you invited to the barbecue, you solid. That's the way we roll. We're down with everybody. Mm-hmm. But the honest truth is, and like we were talking about earlier, do your research. Mm-hmm. Black people have tried to create economics. Man, I just had generational wealth.
Yeah.
After being enslaved for years, taught themselves how to have sustainable communities, right? Mm-hmm. And these communities were not figuratively, literally burned down and bombed, destroyed because of the fear from the success of black people being intelligent. Now let's look at other races in this country as it is today. you have full-on neighborhoods of Asians and Middle Eastern people and, you know, Latin Americans, and full-on where not only do they now, are there places of poverty for these people as well? Of course. There's places for every race in this country of for poverty.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also sustainable places and communities where not only do these people own the things that are in the community, right?
Right.
They are creating the generational wealth for their children. They own the stores. They own the bodegas. They own the mini mart that's there. They own the restaurants. Right. They own the things in their community. Mm-hmm. And are allowed to, and have been allowed to, on a way greater scale than black people. Right. Black people have literally red line districts. Look it up. This is not. I'm not telling y'all bullshit.
Right.
Red line districts. They literally took a map and put a red line around places where black people lived, so that if they tried to go get a loan to buy a house or land, if they lived in that district, they were denied loans, and then essentially denied financing to better their lives.
Right.
So you chill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You don't know, like that, and that. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
No.
You know
no,
me,
this
bro.
Is good.
You know me, bro.
Stuff needs to be said.
It's funny. I start getting hyped, and my shit be like, oh my god.
Yeah, but this shit needs to be said, though. You know,
Yeah,
and there's people that might listen or watch this that might not understand fully. You know, and that's, you know. Oh man.
And you know what? And you know an argument that I don't like is that was my ancestors, it wasn't me.
Mm. Yeah, but the shit's still going on today.
Or my ancestors weren't even here, so how is it my fault? Okay, maybe you are not directly doing something that is furthering the racism. Maybe you are a great person and you treat everybody fairly, and that's awesome. Like, we need that.
But it's almost denial. Denial that could even happen.
If you're not doing anything to stop it.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, if it's politics or whatever, you're doing everything you can to make sure that, you know, funds don't go here when you vote, or funds don't. So why are you not doing the same things when it comes to, if you really care about people, mm-hmm. why are you not doing those things?
Right.
I'm not saying that you're racist, but if you're not doing, if you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything.
Yeah. Stagnant. Again.
And essentially, you are part of the cause. You are part of the problem because you're not saying anything. Right. And you probably let some people say some shit around you and went, I don't want to lose my job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to lose my friend.
Right. You know. Anyways, man. I want to give a shout out to my mom and my dad for not ever bringing that shit into the house. I never heard that. I have no memories of that. You know, I'm not perfect by any means, but that just was not allowed, and I thank them for at least just not, that was not part of the narrative in our house. Mm-hmm. Just was not. Mm-hmm. And you know, I still carry that on, you know, through my life. I don't have kids, but you know, I still try to, I see stuff, man, you know, that goes on, you know, and it's disheartening, man. Like, mm-hmm. I saw something, I even kind of told you, you know, a few weeks ago, saw this guy, you know, and he was begging for a ride, and everybody was just kind of, remember I told you, I was telling you about it, and I was like, come on, dude, let's go. I mean, I don't understand. So that's why I say I thank my mom and my dad for not raising me in a sense, you know, where
to ever even have those type of feelings.
To me, this is serious that I don't see race as race. I see it as a human race.
Right.
You bleed like I bleed.
Right.
You hurt like I hurt.
Well,
In the sense, you have feelings.
right.
You bleed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I know you live different lives.
You love people equally. Yeah.
Yes, and I do, and I see the struggle within people. And if there's a way for me to help, or for me to say something, I'm doing it.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Right. And you know what, man? I want to say, man, shout out to your sisters, bro.
And my sisters too.
Shout out to Amber and Amanda, man. Like, straight the fuck up, dog. Like on some G shit, bro. Like, shout out to Amber and Amanda because, like, not even with this, because they've always been outspoken when it's come to issues. There's never been, like, even when there wasn't a light on it, they always had something to say, and they were always on the right side of it.
Right.
Period. I mean, I you know what I mean? I've been like,
yeah.
I'm like
Tip
off in the
hat.
distance, like, hey, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And with this, they've been, very outspoken, and it's so appreciated, And not only have they commented on issues, but they've been willing to showcase black businesses out there, and they've showed their support and have always had support for black businesses. And so, yeah, man, shout out to them. Shout out to my wife. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my dad. Shout out to, like, the list goes on. Like, shout out to the people around me who are not black, but like they totally get it, and they're totally with me and totally down for the cause. And even shout out to some of the people that I've been having conversations with who are trying to figure it out. Like, that is just as important. And I want to make this clear because I've said a lot. If you don't know, that's fine. The first thing you need to do is acknowledge that you just don't know. And I think most black people are willing to have that conversation with you once you sit there and say, I don't know, educate me. And we will continue as long as it stays here, and you're listening. And if you still, as you're getting educated, if you still not understanding certain things, you say, okay, slow down. I want to go back to we have no problem doing that. It's just nobody's been willing to listen or wanted to have the conversations.
Right.
And so, please, like, if you just don't know, honestly don't know, and you're confused about your feelings about the subject, confused about what you're seeing, there's plenty of us out there. There's somebody close enough to most of you for you to, latch onto it and have a conversation about these things,
I want to shout out one more person.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's you.
Oh, thank you, bro.
I'm very serious though. I've learned so much from you, on so many Black lives, what we're talking about, but just on this, we've had conversations, and those are so valuable to me. Like, I'm thankful that you've opened up to me about everything, about situations. And it's taught me a lot, man. I don't know where I would be sitting right now on, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying I would be like a white supremacist or something, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I'm not, I've just learned so much from you, and I want you to know, I want the world to know that I'm thankful. I love you,
Thank you, man. I love you too, bro.
and just downright some of the best conversations
Straight up.
I've ever had with another human being
Straight up.
has been with you.
Straight up.
So,
The feeling is mutual, my friend.
anyways, I would love for everybody just to get along and not to see your pigment of your skin. And
Hey,
just
look, I don't mind if
judge-
they see it. They just got to see it as beautiful.
as, but what I'm saying is not to judge you based on that,
If they see it like, man, he big, but he handsome though. And he chocolate, you know.
Yeah.
What I'm saying?
You
I'm more
handsome
like
devil.
I'm caramel chocolate, but I'm still chocolate. You know what I'm saying?
Shit. But anyways,
So,
man. So,
Yeah, man. Hey, man. We'll probably continue. I mean, we'll touch on this next podcast as well because we're in it now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And there will be a lot more information that comes up that we're gonna have to dive into. Yeah, there's a lot more that we can touch on. The Drew Brees situation. Like, these are things that are out there. You guys don't really need to hear our opinion on that. Because that in particular is not important. It's more important to keep the focus on the actual cause. I'll have conversations about these things in private with people, and maybe we'll touch on these things. But anything that's going to take away focus on the cause, I'm not really, like, at this point, I'm not really fucking with that.
yeah, we need to keep
Like,
this narrative as
we
straight
got
as possible.
like, you can take it that way. And if it's close enough that I can, but I'm not going way out there. Like,
Right.
I'm not going with you. You can keep going out there by yourself.
Right.
If it's right here, it is in the next lane. Okay, we got to grab that and take the bad stuff out. We got to shift the focus back.
Right.
I'm not playing around no more. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll dive into a lot more as the weeks come up, and I will be doing probably a few more essentials on this, and it will be specifically on these issues, and I'll try to have a lot. We will try to gather information and hand it out to you guys,
Right.
so that you guys can take that and hopefully form, your own opinions and understanding of what's going on.
Right.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Oh,
Hour flew by like that,
right.
bro. Looked, I was like, damn, we almost an hour.
Yep. Crazy.
All right, man. Got anything else to say to the people?
Always stay positive.
For sure that.
Please stay positive out there,
For sure that.
and always stay safe.
For sure that.
Love, kindness, and respect.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man.
That's it. That's all I got.
Stay positive. Stay safe. Stay sane. Stay educated. Stay persistent. Stay active. And stay with kindness in your heart. And as long as you do that, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. It may not be in my lifetime or yours, the things that we really need, but we'll get there as long as it's better for
For the kids.
for my kids and
Yeah.
their
Yes.
generations. So, as always, this is the Gray Space. Shh.